All right, good morning. Doesn't look like anybody's here, but I'll go ahead and go over this and record it and get it posted online so you can review it later if you want to. I know it's early on a Saturday morning and these are optional, but I mean, if you're struggling and you do not take advantage of this basically direct interaction with me to help yourself, then I mean that's on you. So if you don't participate in these, and if you're not actively asking me questions in email and you're struggling, I won't know you're struggling unless you say something. So if you're struggling and you don't reach out for help or you don't attend these, then that's on you. I'll do everything I can to help you, but yeah, you got to put forth some effort too. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. This should be relatively short. What I'm going to go over is just some things for your assignment that you have coming up due Tuesday night. So for this assignment, basically what you have to do, you have to make a little GUI, graphical user interface. It has a few buttons on it, and when you click the button, it does something, right? There's a button you click and it'll convert miles to kilometers or kilometers to miles, one of those two ways. There's another button. If you click that button, then you get to convert temperature, Celsius to Fahrenheit. And then there's a third button that just exits the program, right? Okay, so here this morning, we'll make a little program, a little GUI that just pops up. It'll have two buttons on it. It'll have a button that lets you input some information, and then it'll have an exit button. And that replicates a little bit what you have to do for your assignment. So let's get started. So we'll start off by making a window. A window in Java is called a J-frame. So let's make a new J-frame. We'll name the variable window. Let's make a new one. And for the parameters, really the only parameter that really matters in here is the title of your window. We'll just call it my title, okay? And then to show that window, all you have to do is window.setVisible to true. There, that is a complete program to just show a window on the screen. Now it's going to be a very, very, very tiny window because we didn't give it any kind of size and we didn't put anything on the window. It's going to be very tiny, but this is a complete Java program to actually show a window on the screen. And let's run it. There you go. It's hard to see, but right up here in this corner is our window. Let's drag it and make it bigger. And there's our window. It was in the top left-hand corner because we didn't give it any specific position to be in. And it was really, really, really tiny like this because we didn't tell it what size to be. If we're just starting, that's our window. And it has the my title. Okay, let's set up a couple things. Well, we saw it was really tiny. Let's make the window bigger. We do window.setSize, and we can tell how big we want it to be. Make it 512 by 256. That's how many pixels big that we want to make it. 512 pixels wide, 256 pixels tall. Okay, let's run that. And now there, we actually get a bigger window right off the bat that we can actually see. Still here in the top left-hand corner, let's change that. Let's set its location. We do a window.setLocation. Let's say we want it to start out at that position on the screen. Position 200, 300. That means 200 pixels from the left edge and 300 pixels down from the top. That's going to be the position we want to start at. Let's run it. And there you go. It's starting right there. It has this specific size and that specific title. So now we have a window on the screen that we can actually use, right? Now, if you know, well, we can also use the maximize buttons. If you think you would, the minimize buttons. There you go. Now, one thing we haven't done yet, is, so I can use the X button, and what do you think would happen? Of course, it's going to close the window. But what doesn't happen, that X button, at least not yet, the X button does not actually exit the process. It doesn't end the program. It merely just closes that window, but it does not end the program. And we can see that in action. So if I click, right now the program's running. Whenever I click this X up here, the program is actually still running. And in my IDE, I know that because up here in the top corner where I have like my compile, my run buttons, it's still in the state to where the program is running. Specifically, it has this stop sign up here, or the red square up here, indicating that I should end the program. Okay, so that means the program is still running. And watch down here in this window, whenever I stop the program, you see the process finished with exit code, whatever, and that's fine. So now the program is terminated. So let's see that again. Whenever I'm here and I click the X button, the program isn't actually terminated. It isn't terminated until I stop it manually. Well, let's fix that so that whenever I click the X on the window, it actually terminates the program too. We can do that with window.set default close operation, meaning this is what I want to happen whenever that window is closed. And for us, we can say Windows constants, exit on close. So what that'll do, that'll actually end the program whenever I close the window. All right, let's run that. Now you see we have our window. And now watch, whenever I actually use the X to close the window, we can see that the program is actually terminated. Let's close it. There you go. The process finished with exit code 0. So the program, and up here, we don't have the red square anymore to stop the program because the program is stopped now. Okay, so let's comment this up a little bit. This is create the window, set the size and location of the window. Tell the program to exit when the window is closed. And then finally, this shows the window. Yeah, that's our program commented up. Okay, we're going to just look at it again. So there's our window. So we can't actually do much with it yet, right? We have this area of the window here, but there's not actually something in there. Well, for your assignment, you have to add some buttons in there, right? Well, let's add some buttons onto this for our example. All right. For our example, let's add a button to the window. Okay. A Java button is called a J button. Called button 1. Let's make a new button. And in here, we can put what the text that we want shown on the button. Let's call it button 1. And we have to add it to our window with window.add. We want to add the button to our window. Easy as that. All right, let's click compile and run it. There we go. Oh, now we have this giant button on here. And right now I'm clicking the button, but nothing's happening yet because I haven't told Java what to do whenever I click the button, right? But there is a button on there. And right now it takes up the entire window. We probably don't want that. And we'll show you how to fix that. We can drag it and make it bigger. That's fine. That's a button. All right. Let's make a second button. Let's call it button 2. I should add a second button to the window. Let's run it. What we get is we can see button 2, but what happened to button 1? Right? I'm still adding button 1 to the window and adding button 2, but I only see button 2. And the reason is that button 2 is actually on top of button 1. You would think they would be side by side, but we haven't told Java how to position the buttons on the window. Well, let's fix that. So instead of being on top of each other, let's tell Java how we want the buttons to be positioned. And it's not just buttons. There are other things. There are drop-down boxes, input fields, sliders. There's all kinds of widgets that you can use. We're just going to do the buttons because that's what you need for your assignment. But let's tell Java how to lay out these different components. We do that like this. To tell window how to lay out the widgets. Or also, Java likes to call them components. Java likes to call them components. So we do it like this. We do window dot set layout. Layout is just how things are arranged on the screen. And we have to give it a layout manager. So let's do a new, and there are a bunch of different layout managers. This is the way that Java can automatically determine where on the screen all your components should go. There's a flow layout, box layout, group layout, overlay, spring, scroll pane, viewport, on and on and on. There are a bunch of different layouts. And I'm not going to cover them all. The class material covers some more of them, but you can also look at some online documentation and see all the other layouts. For us, we're just going to tell it to use a flow layout. And what a flow layout means, we're just going to put the components side by side. It's going to make them an appropriate size. So our button will actually end up being smaller than what it was. It won't take up the whole window. And our buttons will now be side by side. That's what this flow layout does. Like I said, there are a lot of different layouts. This flow layout does side by side. There's other flow layouts that does, above and below each other and things like that. I'm not going to go into cover all those for the video, but you can look up those different kind of flow layouts. So now we've told Java, this is how we want the components arranged on our window. So that's the only change we made. So now let's run it. And there you go. We get our button 1 and our button 2 side by side, and they're more appropriately sized. They no longer take up the entire window. So that's button 1 and button 2. All right. For your assignment, you actually got to have 3 buttons, right? So I think you can use your imagination a little bit here, how you would add a 3rd button, right? This is how we added 2 buttons. You need to add a 3rd button. Okay. Now, whenever we click a button, I want something to happen, right? I want something to happen when I click a button. Right now, whenever I click a button, nothing's going on, right? Nothing is happening. Nothing's being printed. Nothing, no new window or nothing is happening when I click the buttons. And why is that? The reason is I haven't told Java what to do when the button is clicked. Java has no idea what you want to happen whenever you click that button, right? Maybe you want to open a file. Maybe you want to send an instant message. Maybe you want to open a web browser. Maybe you want to close the program, right? You as the programmer knows what needs to happen, but you haven't told Java what to do yet. So let's fix that. So let's exit out of this. And here's how we do that. So I have button 1. The way we tell it what to do when we click the button, do button 1 dot add action listener, and then you make a new action listener inside there. Now, this is the code that gets executed when button 1 is clicked. So what we have, this action performed method. Whatever we put inside of this method, that is what happens when I click that button. So for testing it, let's just print something out. Let's say it's a test message. Okay. So now let's run it. And watch, whenever I click the button, I should get a test message printed out down there. There it is, test message, test message, test message. Every time I click the button, it's printing out test message, because every time I click the button, this code inside the action performed gets executed. Every time I click that button. Okay. What about button 2? Still nothing for button 2. And that's because I haven't written the code for button 2. So let's add some code for button 2. Button 2, add action listener, a new action listener. And now in here, we'll do a system.out.println hello from button 2. Now let's run it. Now whenever I click button 1, I should get a test message, and I do. Whenever I click button 2, I should get hello from button 2. That's great. Now we're actually doing something whenever we click the button, right? Something is happening. All right, so for your assignment, one of your buttons is an exit button, right? So let's make this an exit button. We'll just call it exit. That's the text. And whenever we click the exit button, let's end the program, right? That right there, system.exit, that will terminate the whole program. So now we have button 2. The text on the button is exit. This is what happens when we click the button. When we click the button, we're just going to end the program. All right, let's run that. Button 1 still prints out the test message. The exit button ends the program. Perfect. Right. One thing I want to point out while I'm doing this, and this is what you should be doing as well. Anytime you make any small change to your program, you should immediately compile it, run it, and test it out to see if it's doing what you think it's doing. So, as I've been doing this video this morning, every time I've typed in 1 or 2 lines of code, I'm immediately clicking the compile button and running it and making sure it does what I expect it to do. You should be doing that as well. You should not try to program the entire program and then try to run it for the first time. Really, that's just kind of asking for trouble. So anytime you add any new functionality to your program, please immediately test it and make sure it's working appropriately. Okay. So let's look more closely at button 1. So for your assignment, like I said, you have a button on there that says convert distance, and you have a button, and you have a button that converts temperatures, right? If I click the distance button, what happens? If I click that distance button, it opens a little pop-up window. It asks you for the number of kilometers. And then whenever you click OK, it will do some mathematical conversion on it. And then it'll give you a new pop-up box that says what the answer is. Right? So kind of in comments, ask the user for input. We convert the input. We show the answer. Right? That's the sequence of events that takes place whenever you click the button. Like I said, for your assignment, you're converting distance to mile or kilometers, miles, or you're converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, right? For us, for this example, let's just say we want to compute the area of a circle. Okay. So when we click button 1, we're going to compute area of a circle. The area of a circle is A equals pi times R times R, pi R squared, right? Okay. Well, let's start off by asking the user is, what is the radius? We need the radius to determine the area of a circle, right? So let's ask the user what the radius is. We can do it like this. We can get their input, and their input will always be a string. Even though radius needs to be an actual number, it can be a double. What the user types in is always a string, though. We're going to have to convert that string to an actual number, but what they type in is always a string. And as a GUI, we have some easy classes to allow us to get these kind of things. It's called a J option pane and show input dialog. And now, as a parameter, we give it, what is the message that we want to be displayed? We'll just say enter the circle radius. And then for testing purposes, let's just have it print that out. Oops. System.out.println. All we're going to do is just print the inputs back out. So one little change. Let's run it. Here's our window. Remember, when we click the button, when we click button 1, it's going to run this code. So it'll use this J option pane show input dialog. It'll get it into this input, and then we'll print the output. So let's click the button. See, we got this little pop-up. This window is that J option pane show input dialog. This is the show input dialog. It says enter the circle radius. That right there is the kind of prompt we gave it. And it has a box for us to type something in, right? Let's just type in the number 2. Hit OK. As you see, we got 2 printed out down there. And why is that? It's because this input is whatever the user typed in. And then we're just printing out that input. So if I do it again, if I put ASDF and OK, then the input is ASDF. All right. Well, like I said, we want them to type in the radius, right? We need a number, because to do this calculation, the radius needs to be a number. So, or let's just spell out radius. We need the radius to be an actual number, but they typed in a string, but we can convert that to a number. We can convert to a double, like so. Now let's print out the radius. What did I do here? So here I'm still getting the input, whatever they type in, that input dialog. Here I'm going to say I have a double named radius, and double dot parse the double from this input. So we're saying this string contains a double, and we want to convert it to an actual number. Let's see if that works out right. So now we're printing out the radius. Let's run that. So now if we type in 111, okay, there we go. You get 111.0, which is a double, right? What happens if I type in ASDF? What's going to happen here? It's actually going to give us an error. It's not going to have any GUI pop up for an error, but there'll be some printout for an error. And why is that? Well, let's do it first. But see, we got all these exceptions down here. And why is that? It's because our input was ASDF, some letters, right? Now I'm trying to convert those letters into an actual number. Well, the letters ASDF, they don't represent an actual number, right? They don't. So that's what's giving us the error. That's why it's giving this exception. So I only point this out. For your assignment, I don't need you to worry about that. For your assignment, you can assume the user is always typing in valid input, meaning you can assume they're always typing in a number. You don't need to worry about them typing in something that's not a number. In real world programming, you have to absolutely every time. In real world programming, you have to check user input every single time, right? But for this class, we're not going to worry. We're not going to focus that much on that. Yeah, I want you to understand Java programming first. But just keep in mind that when you run the program, this is expecting you to type in a number because you're converting it to a double. So if you type in 1, 2, 3, okay, and everything works fine. We'll just get to 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now that we know that this radius is an actual number, well, let's compute the area. The area will be pi. There's actually a math.pi. You can just manually type in 412.957 something. You can manually type that in if you want to. It's fine. But there is a math.pi constant, and you can see on my screen here, you see what that constant is. It's more precise than probably what you're going to type in. All right, so the area is that the pi times the radius, right? That's the area. Let's make sure it's correct. Let's just print it out real fast. Let's run that. We made a little change. Let's run it. So if we type in 1, is that the area if the radius is 1? Oops, that's the right thing. There we go. So the area is pi times 1 times 1. So it's just pi, right? So that looks right. Let's use another value. Say the radius is 2, and that's the area. This is actually where your test cases come in. You should be making a test case table to verify that you're getting the correct answer. All right. Let's make a bigger radius. And, oh yeah, there we go. Like, I wasn't sure if that was right, but it did it as an exponent. So say the radius is 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, there's the area of a circle with that radius. Okay. Only one, let's close our program. Only one thing left to do, kind of what you need for your assignment is, so we computed that we did this conversion, did that computation. So now let's show it back to the user. So just like we have this J option pane to show an input dialog to get input from the user, you can also have a J option pane that has a show message dialog. And what that does, it'll show to the user some text that we want to show. Okay. The first parameter is asking for the parent. You can usually put null here. What that means is if there is a parent window or a parent to this message dialog, because you can make them children of each other, but we don't have that. So we're just going to make it null. There is no parent. Now, the next thing we do is the message. Let's just say the area is, and then whatever the area is, right? We can also add a title, which is called the title area. And then we can say what message type it is. Well, let's leave that off for a second. Actually, let's leave both those off. Let's just show that right now. There's no parent, and this is the message that is displayed. Let's run that. There we go. Do button 1. Enter 1 for the radius. Okay. And there. It pops up this new show message dialog. It says the area is whatever that computed area is. All right. Let's do it again for radius of 12. Okay. And that's the area. There's that number right there. Okay. Couple little things you can customize about it. Right now, you see, message is the title, and it has this little eye inside of a circle as the icon. You can customize those a little bit. If you're here, you put the title, which is called the title area. You can also tell it what kind of icon to display, like this, J option pane dot. And then this is what kind of determines what icon is shown. It can be a plain message. Let's look at what a plain message looks like. When we run it, radius 1.3. There, you see, it now has our area as the title. It doesn't have an icon anymore. That's just a plain message. Plain message doesn't have an icon. All right, let's change this to, what else we got? Let's change it to a warning message. Let's run it. Button 1. Okay. Now you can see we get like this, triangle with an exclamation point in the middle of it, right? That's a warning message. What else is there? We'll look at one more. Plain message, warning message, information message. That's the default one that has like the little I in a circle. Let's just show error message and then we'll wrap it up. Run it. There we go. Click button 1. That's the radius, and there we have like the stop sign with the red X in it. That's the error message. Okay. Okay. So let's just change it back to an information message. We'll run that one final time. Actually, before we do that, we'll close it. So instead of just saying button 1 as the text, this the exit button actually says exit on it, right? So for this one, let's just name it compute area, right? This will be the last time we run it, and then we'll wrap up this session. Run it. There we go. We have a button called compute area and a button called exit. If we click the exit button, the program just exits. And that's because whenever we click the button, this is the code that's executed, and that's what we're telling the computer to do. When we click the compute area button, let's have my code up here at the same time so we can go through it step by step, show you what's happening along the way. Later. Let's get these up side by side. There we go. All right, so we have a compute area button. When we click the compute area button, it pops up this input dialog, because whenever we click the button, this is the code that gets executed. So the first thing we do is this J option pane, show input dialog. That's what's happening right now. This is the show input dialog. Whenever I type something in, 1, 2, that is going to be the input. I'm going to convert that input into a number radius. I'm going to compute the area from that radius. And then I get this show message dialog. And this is the show message dialog. I'm saying it doesn't have any parent window. And for the message, the area is whatever the computed area is, and that's the message in it. The title is called area. Title is area. And it's an information message, which is why we get this I inside the little circle. Okay. This is everything. This is nearly everything that you need to be successful in your assignment. I'll briefly talk about one other part of the assignment, but this is for you to figure out. So, in my example here, I just computed the area of a circle and just printed it out, right? For your assignment, you actually have to make some converter classes. And the assignment tells you exactly how those converter classes work. It tells you what to call the converter classes. It tells you what methods they should have. So that's what you need to do. You need to read over that. And that's the mathematical computation that you have to perform. You have to perform the mathematical computation according to those converter classes. And it's very detailed and very spelled out exactly in your assignment. Okay. So that is the end of today's session. We'll go ahead and open it up if anyone has any questions. I'll stand by for a couple more minutes. It can be about this assignment. It can be about anything Java programming or any other part of the course. All right, for those in attendance, just got confirmation there was no questions. All right. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is being recorded, and I will have it posted to the classroom, to the announcements section here shortly. And if you have any questions or any issues, please reach out to me and ask. And whenever you email me, please be specific about what you're having problems with. If you just send me an email that says my program isn't working, I don't know what to do, that's not very helpful. Whenever you ask me for assistance, which is fine, ask me for assistance as much as you want. That's what I'm here for. But when you ask me for help, here's what I need for you to give me. For one, I need you to also attach your Java files to your email so that I can see what you're doing, right? I also need you to tell me what have you tried and what is going wrong. If you just send me just your Java files and say my program doesn't work, there's not too much I can go on there. You need to tell me what is wrong with it, why it isn't working, and what you have tried. So please reach out for me to help, and I'll help you to the best of my abilities. Other than that, everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and see you next time.